Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to MP Radio. আপনাদেরকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আমাদের MP Radio থেকে। আজকে আমাদের টপিক হলো যে we're going to talk about upbringing our kids or how to safeguard our kids. আমাদের from London actually, if you're watching from anywhere around the world. আমাদের যে সমস্যাগুলো how to bring up kids, this is quite a hot topic at the moment. So we have expertise here, mashallah. One Aslam Bhai on my other end, he will speak about how they raise kids in Bangladesh. We have Mahbub Alam, he's a counselor, local counselor. He will talk about both sides, here and Bangladesh. What's the and I'm really honored to be and welcome. I'm Liz. She is international. She will tell you who she is. Can I ask Liz to introduce yourself and your background and what you do?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. So I've lived in East London here in Tower Hamlets for 4 years, doing some youth work and some community work and some interfaith work locally. But before that, I grew up in America. And my mom's side of the family is Chinese, and my dad's side of the family is Italian. So I'm quite a mix of different styles and places.
Can I say ni hao?
I wouldn't know. This is one of the sad things about being. I have none of the language. It's really terrible.
How do you Chinese and Japanese, they're very successful people. And in all ways, we can see it. Chinese is the superpower. At the even now,
they are growing. Yeah.
So, what's the secret behind uprising the kids? What do they normally do? Any ideas you have?
I don't know if there's a secret. I was just thinking back. I think my experience growing up as a daughter of Chinese immigrants in America is very, very similar to a lot of Asian immigrants' experiences here. And then my mother's upbringing from her parents. I think a traditional East Asian upbringing is quite strict, I think, and sort of very driven. I think there's some pros and cons to that, certainly. I think there's quite a lot of focus on pushing your kids to do well and sort of not taking no for an answer necessarily. Like, no, I know you have it in you to do well. I'm going to push you because I want you to succeed. But I think sometimes the flip side of that is children emotionally are like, oh, I don't know if I can, and they can feel quite a lot of pressure. So I think my mom tried to raise us in a slightly more gentle way when she started to think about, oh, what sort of life do I want my children to have? And so she was always, yes, encouraging us to do our best, but also she was very supportive, and she and my dad were always wanting us to pursue our interests and making a safe space for us to do that.
If I say, what kind of discipline line would they use? Would they use, say you want to discipline your kid? I'm talking about young kids, about 5, 6 years old, they didn't go to schools or they not go to the temple or anything. How would they discipline them normally?
Yeah, well, I think different families still do it different ways. I think my mother's upbringing, again, was quite strict. And then when she started to raise us, I guess maybe we're a bit of unusual, but so we went to church all the time. And so we had a real language of trying to honor one another and to serve and respect God and to love one another in that. When we were quite small, I think certainly, every kid is rebellious and talks back when they're tiny, right? But I can only ever remember, I think, once being spanked. I think it was always very much like my mother was trying to get us to it's one thing to tell a child, no, that's wrong, but it's another thing to tell a child, okay, so how can we help you to grow out of that and to learn from your mistakes? And so I think she really is really trying to give us the best of both worlds in that.
Fantastic. Can I go back to Aslam Bhai? Would you like to say uprising in Bangladesh? What do they normally do, the practice?
I mean,
there's no right and wrong.
Yeah, well, I can say, I came in UK at the age of 10, so I have 10 years of experience growing up in Bangladesh with parents, with extended family, with village people, and it was a great experience in Tower Hamlets, living for last at least 30 years. Okay, although when I came here after 10 years old, but I've been to Bangladesh a few times, and what I can say, I'm saying the village experience, not the town, village experience. Children are raised normally in family with extended family. They have their mother, father, obviously. They have the granddad, grandma, even sometimes granddad's parent as well. And also you have other neighbors living close by, and the village as a whole. So in Bangladesh, you can see raising up children in the village context is a bit different. There's less pressure on mother and father. You have extended family to look after. And even though the children are outside in the village running around, they think the whole village is looking at them. They won't behave badly because they know everyone knows them and they'll be reported back. And that's what usually happens. Someone will say, look, I know who you are and I know what you're doing. I'm going to tell your dad.
Is that mean whole village is like a one family?
Yeah, yeah. So you can say the whole village is contributing to raising up children. Everybody is looking after each other. Okay? But context here is different. I can say when people came here, a lot of parents, I can say from my experience, a lot of parents thought it's going to go same way, but here's more independence. A lot of parents didn't know what their children are doing when they're going outside the school. Okay? So after 10, 15 years, when they find out the truth, it was too late for them. They thought it was going to be same like when they were back home, but when they found out it's too late and they've lost the control of children. So raising up children, and Mahbub will say,
Can I ask you something?
it's totally different. It's more responsibility on mother and father. And it's not just, you have to learn every day.
How old were you? How old were you when you learned your first F word? I mean, a swear word.
Well, that's how I learned in Bangladesh.
Okay.
And I remember, I have to say,
Don't say it.
the very first time I swear to my mother, I was beaten up really badly. Only once, and that's it, stop swearing.
That worked for you.
Mama, yeah, it really worked. My mom said, look, and I've learned it from my cousin brothers and sisters. They used to, like, there were 7 brothers, 1 sisters, and all day they used to, like, fight and this, that. And me and my brothers, only 2 of us. And we were really good behaving, but because you see them doing that every day to their parents. One day, I got a slip of tongue and I said something bad to my mom. She said, "That's it. This is your first time." She tied me up in the lychee tree. You know the lychee tree? Beat very hardly, and that's it. That was my last of saying something bad to my mom. So anyone.
I'm glad something worked. Now, Mahbub bhai, please. You could learn both sides. If I ask you stuff like, say 5 years old, what does he do in the morning? What does he do? How his days goes by? It would be nice.
Firstly, I want to thank you for bringing this very important issue. Yeah, it affects every single one of us. Children are the future of the country, future of this world, and we need to really get them ready to face the world and deal with it. I arrived in UK when I was 13, so not much of a difference. So I do have an experience in Bangladesh, and then I'm a father of 4 myself. One thing I want to start off with the quotation is the quote: "The best wealth you can give to your children is time," and that's why we have a problem. Now, look at us today. We hardly give time because we are not able to give time to our children. Then we take help of technology, i.e. games and PS3, PS4, whatever you can name it. I don't have many in my house because I like to give time other than this. So that's where you have to see where the place you're living, the time you're living, and everything changes, how you raise your children. In Bangladesh, you rightly said, where I grew, I had people around me. I had my uncles to look after me. When mom was away, my dad was in this country, so my mom had to play the part of my mom and of my father as well. But she had help of others. So when I was out, I knew, everyone knew me. So I was well protected. If I was to do something wrong, they would correct me or take me home, take me to my mom, which doesn't happen here. So this was in Bangladesh, which was very safely done, and I had more time. So there was a time set for me. I didn't have any games, so I would physically go out and play. When I'm playing, I'm actually interacting with other children, other people, and different faiths as well in Bangladesh, like Muslim and Hindus and other faiths. So that gave me the confidence, and this really worked for me. I can see it's really worked for me now. But today what happens, it's more children are not really meeting one another face to face. Rather, they're using WhatsApp, text messages. The feelings are shared through status or Facebook or other means. your feelings are not even shared to your parents. You suddenly see a little child of 14 or 15 on Facebook made a status, and I instantly know they didn't have anyone to talk to. So they're just putting it up anyway, just trying to get that out of their heart or the brain or their soul. So something I think we need to be very careful of at this moment of time, where what are we
Are you
heading
trying to
towards?
say the technology took over our personal relationship or personal touch?
Cannot blame the technology. It does favor us in many ways, but it's how you use it. And one thing I would like to say, it's not about just protecting your own child. You have to protect other children as well, because they are the friend of your children. So your child is with you for many up to an hour or two at home, because most of the time either they're sleeping or they're doing the homework. You only have them for 10, 15 minutes or an hour if you do give them most time a day. But then they are at school and they are with their friends, and friends make them who they become. So you got to make sure their friends are good too. So you cannot be selfish where, okay, my kids are protected. They go to mosque on time. They do their classes on time. I'm with them. I don't let them go out too often. But they will have to go out and find friends. If they don't have friends, then they're not going to enjoy life. They're going to enjoy their youth life as well. So that's why you got to make sure that their friends are good. So we need to create a community where we think of one another. We think of children as our children, all children, right? And they understand the difference between their race, color, and religion, and they begin to respect one another.
When you were young, did you used to get beats? Anything?
I mean, when
say you made a mistake.
I tell you one thing. When I can tell you one or two experiences that I had. Like I said, because my father was in this country, so my mom had a very hard time bringing 4 children, right? So 6 of us. Because then 2 was born when we arrived. So in Bangladesh, we was 4 of us. So it wasn't easy for my mother. So in time, yes, she would give few sticks. And like I said, but she was not really hard on it. It'd be 1 or 2 sticks, and that would be enough.
How do you see it now? Do you think she done it for the right reasons? Now, how do you see it now? Would you appreciate, like she's your mother, she loves you so much. They're doing it for a reason, actually. Would you appreciate that?
See, it's the understanding. Like with my children, my target is to never touch them. Okay? And only 1 or 2 occasions was very, very mild. My son is 15 years old. It's me about talking to them. See, sometimes when you don't give time, that's when other method comes in mind, because it's your own weaknesses, and then you find other method to cover your own weaknesses.
Okay. Can I come back to you that? Because you're going to 15. I'm just going to go stay. Just one more thing I want to know, very interested to know about Japanese people. If it's possible, I know if we're in a spotlight, like if you describe the school's life in Japan, they say in school, they go to school, they sleep, they have a rest, then they clean the school. It's amazing. This is a very amazing way to discipline the person. They're grown up, very mature. Would you able to describe a Japanese school? Or?
I mean, I only know what I've read, since it's not my experience. I think it is quite full on. It is quite strict in Japanese schools. And I think, again, there are pros and cons in that. I think they have quite a strong system, like the UK does, of testing children and making sure they're progressing and making sure that children are learning what they're meant to learn. But I think also equally that does give quite a lot of pressure on kids. And sometimes that doesn't leave room for things that help kids to have safe spaces to learn and grow and make mistakes, like arts or sports or other things, where kids can learn that it's okay to try and fail at things every so often. So I think the Japanese system produces amazing engineers and scientists and other things, but I think sometimes we have lost sort of the other side of what makes life worth living every so often. So
can you imagine someone's going to school, 5 years old, not 5 years old, say he's 11 years old going to school. What would he do in the school level? What kind of stuff they teach or how they do it? Do you have any idea?
I don't have a lot of expertise.
Because
no,
in this country, they want to bring expertise from Japan in this country so they could learn and they could see why they're so successful. So it'd be amazing for our viewers to know from you, if it's possible, if you know anything.
I think a lot of it is cultural too. I think the Japanese expectations about education are that children will apply themselves and they will memorize quite a lot, and that they will do the work. And I think sometimes perhaps in the UK there's a bit more of an expectation of, oh, well, if I don't do the work, maybe I don't get some good GCSEs, I'll just get benefits, or I've got other options. And I think the culture of sort of what you're expected to do at school might be part of that equation that makes the difference. And so I think one of the things that I would hope any education system would be saying to kids is, you are capable of learning. It is possible for you to put in the work, and to encourage kids to do that. And I think you need to encourage them as well as to be pushing them from behind.
But then, like you said, they have to enjoy all other side of life as well. And if you're focusing on one agenda of turning them into a machine, or this is it, this is what you're going to become, and this is what we need of the country. So it's more of the need of the country, or is it that they need to find how to enjoy their own life and find themselves within themselves? You understand? So sometimes, if you have 4 or 5 children, not everyone going to be talented. You're going to allow the one who's less talented to enjoy life his own ways as well. So if you're going to focus on one ways where this is it, this is how you're going to start your day, this is how you're going to focus in your life, and this is what you're going to have to become, then I see that we will lose the youth that I had. The youth time is all about just knowing yourself, just wondering about yourself, just being who you are, and and in time. So though we see the successful, you need to see how you define being successful. Yes. There are many scientists that we know of, and we made history and legacy, where they were not very educated as well, but they had some sort of ideas and something they enjoyed. So if you see some people of the past, they found it themselves. It was interesting themselves, rather than somebody's pushing something onto them. So allowing them naturally to find what they are good at, but keeping discipline, like you said. Someone can be very highly educated, but then he might have a less of a lesson of mannerism. And that's what the problem that we have. We see a lot of professional people, and then sometimes their behavior questions it.
It does.
But
Can I cover something else?
Yeah.
I'll cover England,
Yeah.
and then because Les is also from America, she can cover them as well. So it just makes it a bit more diverse, and then we come to we talk about the problems and what the solution can be. I think we have very similar line because we're all from Asia. We have similar strict line actually. I think in England, I was grown up in Bangladesh myself, but England I've been here from 1981. I was about 11 years old, came in this country. Been to the state school. I mean, in this country, they don't beat. They allow you to do everything, as long as you don't damage anything, or you can express yourself. And they are doing well as well. They are doing very well. Instead of hits and other stuff, they're doing very well. You don't have to hit someone to do well. Yes, there are other people that are not in the right track. We agree with you. But if you see the universities, if you see the scientists, and you see the people in this country, majority they are educated. Almost everybody educated in this country. So I can say same with India, they're very strict line in India too. And like in India, they just choose a line for the kids and they have to do it. It's almost like you have to do, you've got no choice anymore. Either you become a doctor or engineer or something big, massive. So I don't know about America if you want to share, but in this country, we have other problems too. So we'll go into that problem about the kids. So we're trying to bring something very positive out, like from the Asia and the US and here, and then see what's the solution. We don't have any perfect one, but we talk about it. Would you like to share just to get US in it, just to say how they do it?
Yeah, well, I feel I was privileged, I think, to have a great schooling experience, and I acknowledge that not everybody in America, it's a very big country. Some kids who live in inner city places or in poor country places don't have great schools or great opportunities like I had, certainly. But I feel fortunate that I feel like I had teachers who really pushed me to learn to think as well. It wasn't just you need to memorize X, Y, and Z and pass your test, but it was I want you to learn to think critically about this subject, and can you take it apart and see what the argument is here, so that then if you hear something on the news, you can do the same thing. You can say, oh, what's his argument? Can you take it apart and not just learn to spit back whatever the teacher has answered to you, but learn to think? And I think equally, I had teachers and other mentors in my life who were not just concerned about my academic growth, but they were also concerned, I think, like you were saying, about developing people with time for themselves, to know themselves. They were concerned that you grew as an emotional human being, or that you learned how to get on with your peers, or psychologically, like there's more to life, and they they talk a lot in America about being a sort of a well-rounded person. So like when you apply to university, actually, they don't just look and say, what were your academic grades? Those are quite important and you need to have good scores, but they also want to see, well, were you a student leader? Did you help with your school? Did you volunteer in your community? Did you play an instrument or help run a fundraiser? They want to see that you're going to contribute to that university in the same sort of well-rounded way.
Fantastic. We have a text here, but I don't know if that goes with the children's. So can we leave that at the end? Brothers who has texted us, can you just write at the end so we talk about it? Because we're talking about kids and he's talking about capital punishment. Okay, the reason I brought that subject is in Tower Hamlet, we're all part of it. You know, we all share the same pain, same happiness, same success. We I think we have lots of single mothers, parents. We have lots of people are not in education, lots of drug dealers, lots of druggies. There are lots of problem here. You know, we're having a major problem here. So why, the reason we want to know is, are we failing in Tower Hamlet for our kids? Why is that our kids are turning into, okay, Tower Hamlet is mostly Muslims. So if we target Muslim group, it's everybody else, but because we are majority are Muslims, so it would be fair to criticize our own than the others, if that makes sense. So if you don't, would you like to share? Do you think we are failing or what? What's the problem?
We were failing, but I think we were failing, but now I think we're improving now. And there's a big reason for that. In Tower Hamlet, you have overcrowding housing crisis for a long time, for many, many years. Children do not have a spare room to sleep. Sometimes the siblings are sleeping in the same room. They do not have a proper place to do their homework. So what they do, they go out and meet other people, bad people, sometimes good people. So this has been a crisis for a long time. And you have people, when I went to the school, at least 95% of the students were on benefits. The parents were on benefits. They were having free school meals. Okay? But now that's changing now. Now parents are working, they're paying from their pockets, you know, and the children see their parents are working, and they've got motivation now to do well like their parents. This is changing now. So I would say that one of the problems is the housing crisis was a big problem. And the parents who came as immigrants 25 years ago, 20 years ago, I have to say most of them were not educated, you see what I mean? So they also lack skill in how to develop the children. But now that's changed a lot. You can see the school results are doing well. Girls, boys, they're doing very well now.
And I think that recently, last few years, we had students up having A stars, 11 A stars, 13 A stars. You know, they're doing really, really well in Tower Hamlet last few years. But
and I want to compare something, the Asian education system and the Western education system. The Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, you have more emphasis of memorizing a lot. So students are just, after memorizing it, so that they can go in exam and just write down things, just to pass. So the main mission is to pass. Now, going through the education system here, I've done myself MSc in IT consultancy. The education system here tries to develop a confident person. So you can go in any area. For example, when I was doing my MSc, we were told to, one of our unit was research and development. And we were given some areas to research that we would never go and research. We were told, no, you have to go and research, and our aim is to make you confident. So after the education, you can, any subject, you can go and research and do a presentation on it. That's how they will develop. And this was really good. There's less memorization, but more research work, actually. Okay. Research and development. And that opens your brain. And more you memorize to pass, it really closes your brain. It doesn't open up.
But if I say in Asia countries, like they are very strict on the lines, they do that. But here too, people have too much freedom. You can't even touch it. You know, like they have too much freedom. They also have a lot of illness. You know, like they're into drugs, they're into this, they're into that, they're into, you name, everything's here. So how do we balance that we're doing well? Do you think we two are apart, or can we bring both culture together?
Yeah. Well, I think what you were saying earlier, gentlemen, about having a village to sort of bring up your children and look after, I think
This is it.
is so important, and I think it doesn't feel the same here, certainly, but I think you want to have a lot of different people speaking into your kids' lives. And so I think partially because I'm a youth worker and I can see the benefits of when your child feels known and loved and seen by someone who isn't necessarily mom or dad. It might be an auntie or a cousin or a teacher or a sports coach or a youth worker, but someone who can listen to this kid, and they've got not just mom and dad, but also aunties or uncles or other mentors or other role models in their lives. I think you need a lot of different people trying to encourage kids, and because they're not always going to listen to mom and dad, so they need other people to be on that journey with them.
I mean, that's why we need to, like you touched on it, you rightly said, that's why we need to design family houses where allow extended family, if they wish to live together, because that benefits the children. If not, like you said, if that's not possible, then create a little community, like a little village, where you live close by. For example, when you're busy and both of you work in mom and dad, who do you leave your children with? You get a babysitter, and the babysitter is not really talking their language. But can you imagine if you leave your children with their grandparents, with your mom and dad, then they are learning while they are with them. And when you're out enjoying and having the free time, your children are in the safe end and still learning the mannerism and other experience. And they're talking to them history, talking to them, telling them a lot of stories and stuff. That's what they enjoy. So you got to see where the problem is. The problem is we are now being, I would say we are being very materialistic because we want to improve our life quality. We focus on earning wealth, being very well off. Then within that time, what we forget, by the time we reach our goal, we might lose the people that we want to spend it on. Because that's when a lot of the people realize when it's too late. So I say to the parents, and I remind myself, is there is no perfect solution. And I cannot say this system is best and this system is best. But with a good understanding, good teamwork, if you can make moments with your children, like I said many times, they need your presence, not your present. So you can give them a gift of thousands of pounds, but if you're not there for them, one day they will say to you, you have never been with me. You've never been my dad. And you say to yourself, I spent so much money on you. But it will mean nothing. He might not spend money on you, but as soon as you depart, your son will remember the moment you created in his life for your daughter. He or she, your daughter or your son will say, my dad did this for me. The first time I ever went to the museum, it was with my dad. The first time I did the experience of bungee jump, it was with father. The first time I did, which is I did with my children, first time I ever did gliding, it was with my father and my mother was watching. If you can create that moment, then you're bonding. And for the children, they will think twice before they go in the wrong track because they will think of you. They will think of, instantly come into their mind if you think psychology.
Can I just share one thing? Because I work with old people. So old people in their 80s, 70s, in that level. So they would share their, the past of when they were young, how they used to be in these countries. And now they will, all of them, most of them complain like, nowadays the kids are rude. They don't respect you. They, in front of you, they will smoke, they will do everything. They don't care anymore. There's nothing.
I want to add this to, I want to add this to you very quickly. It just came in my mind. Well, I was talking to some youths. I do take interest to talk to youths and find out, and I do run one or two workshop voluntarily. And one of them said, right, what do you want to get a degree? And after getting a degree, I'm hardly going to earn anything. Where what I do now, it allows me to drive a car that I dream of. Now, how do you answer to this? It's material again. So one of them rightly said, I can spend 20 years of my time, of my life, and become a doctor, and what am I going to earn? Where I can become a celebrity, or in his own word, maybe a dealer, drug dealer and stuff, and I can have what I want in life. They were open, so they were openly talking. And I said, I allowed that just to get the idea of what they think and what really takes them into that line of life.
I think what you have brought up here is so much about spending time is just listening.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times too, our tendency as adults is to want to fix things when young people go wrong. And quite often the young people, they don't need it to be fixed. They just want you to listen to the answer. And so if your young person, if your child shows up and says, actually, Mom, I don't know how I feel about this, or I don't know if I believe in God today. You don't go, oh, I need to fix that, but tell me more about that. We need to make a safe space where young people can feel like, okay, lots of adults in my life are going to listen to me. They're going to invest in me, and they're going to help me to, I think, a lot with these young people who maybe they don't want to go to university or they don't want to do this, but what sort of other dreams can you work towards? And it's not just all about, oh, can I make a shiny life for myself, but what are you going to give back to that community? And young people, when you give them the opportunity to serve and to volunteer and to give back, they generally really want to. It's just that no one's ever bothered to ask them.
Okay, we only got 2 minutes to go.
Right.
If you guys want to continue, we'll see if the producers. So would you like to share anything? Any question, anything like that? So we missed it. Okay, we had a text here just to entertain this brother. If you want to answer, you answer. If you don't want to answer, it's up to you guys. He said, "Do we need to bring the capital punishment in this country?" I don't know what if he's.
What sense?
Okay, we'll let him
It's
sleep.
going to bring a big debate now.
I mean, I think
We should take a
this is a big deal in America right now because certain parts of America allow it and certain parts don't. And I think the thing that really saddens me about it, at least in America, is quite often they've condemned people to death who are not guilty. They have found them to be innocent. And I think you have no possibility of redemption. You have no possibility of saying to someone, your life matters. You can turn it around. You can make something for yourself. You have just shut that door. And so I always would say, vote for hope. Vote for more possibility. Don't vote to close those doors. Vote to be more compassionate.
Okay, one more question. No, we don't have to entertain that one. She set up for you. Do we have to train? Do you have to become a good parent by learning? Or do you think some people will say, Ashe Fare Murge Fare, so what do we have to learn it for? It's easy to be a parent, but do we have to learn it? Do you think it's something we should
I
learn?
would say learning is always there's no ending of learning. Okay, learning from discussion, learning from others, learning from observation. So there's no alternative for learning. You have to learn.
Would you say your last word in the camera to the
even
parents?
raising up your children, you learn from the mistakes. You make a mistake, next time you don't make that mistake. This is also a learning. So I would say learning is a lifelong process, actually. It never ends.
Thank you. Would you like to say something in the camera to the parents?
I mean, quickly, there's two things just came in my mind.
I also learn from my children.
One thing, even like you said, even to introduce religion to your children, you need to know exactly how to do it. And, like I say to many parents, don't tell your children, go and pray or you go to hell. Rather you say, come and let's pray together so we can enter Jannah or paradise. See the different way of approach. You're giving the same messages, but the approach is different and makes it more workable and more humble. And this is what I say to parents and remind myself is, I did a course, I went to residential to do a course, Parenting in the West. And I always thought I was a good father, good parent, and my wife. And then when I came out from the workshop, I gave myself 1 out of 10. And this is the reminder I always give myself, and I want to remind all parents. It's a big responsibility. Through your children, your dreams stays alive. You might have a lot of dreams that you cannot fulfill within your time, but your children will fulfill the dream. So it's worth investing. Every sacrifice is worth making for your children. I say to you, wealth is important. The best wealth is your children that you have. Give them the best life. Give them time. Be their friend and guide them well. And spend some time. And lastly, only yesterday experience, I went to see Everest, the movie, with my full family, my wife and children. My youngest one's 5. And most of us were in tears. My daughter was for a full 1 hour in tears. And we came out, we sat down after the movie. We came out and we started talking. That itself called learning. So find other venues, other ways of talking to your children rather than being in one room and being one-minded, one way. No, approach other ways. Take them out, talk to them in a park, talk to them in the mosque, talk to them in the house, different places, different mood, and you'll get the best out of them. Thank you.
Les, your last words for what do you think we talked about?
Well, I really think that all the things that we've said here today about spending time and listening to people, I think actually I've had to learn to listen. If you talk about lifelong learning, I think learning to listen to someone and to be fully present, even if you don't agree with what they're saying, but to hold space for them, that's a real deep thing. And I think I'm continually learning how to listen to folks. And to listen to children, I think, is one of the greatest gifts that you can give them, because it says to them, you matter, you're important to me. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to hear what you have to say. And that's, I think, a form of love right there.
Thank you, Les. I'm really honored for you guys to come over and share your thoughts. Brothers and sisters, actually, this is very important. We're dealing with humans. They could be our kids, but we're dealing with humans, and this is a gift from our God. So the way we look after them, we have to be very thoughtful, very responsible for them, because they are a gift from your God. And if you destroy them, actually you're destroying the gift from your God, actually. And those people will remind you when you die. They will pray for you. They will say lots of good things about you. So I think we all have to learn. This is something we should learn. And especially in this country, the kids are very, they're not wild, but they're very different from back home, actually. You know, they came here, so we have to know how to deal with these kids. If you want to learn, and we have some courses, Stepney Fathers Group run courses. If you get contact with me or MP Radio, they will help you to find courses for you. Thank you for your time, and have a good life. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.